All right. Thank you for joining, everyone. Welcome to a fresh episode of PhD, the philosophical drama. I'm your host Shweta, and today we are going to talk to Dr. Prashant Jethva. Prashant did his PhD from NCBS Bangalore in India, and post that he did his postdoc from Washington University in the US, and he recently got appointed as a scientist one in Amgen, California, in the US. So let's call Prashant over and learn about his stories of academia and more. Hello, Prashant.
Yeah,
Can
hi
you hear
Shweta.
me?
How are you?
I'm
Can you
good. How are you?
hear me fine?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to our show. I hope you have a good time, and I hope like our audience also has a great time today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure talking to you after a long time.
Oh, yes, sure. All right. So let's begin. Let's begin from like many years ago when you were growing up, and let's talk about how you grew up and how that led you to think about doing a PhD, or how did you consider doing a PhD?
So, like say, looking back little bit even further from the PhD, like say, I'm coming from a small town place where
Mm-hmm.
I see without having a decent salary, you will not be having a good issue of your life. So I decided I want to pursue my career in science rather than just my family was doing all the business and they were all in business, but there was always a lean patch in your business where you will realize it's very difficult to meet your ends during this difficult time. So during that, I decided, okay, I wanted to pursue a long career in my studies so that I don't have to worry about my like a salary or my earning.
Right.
So I went outside my hometown to pursue my high school, and then when I went on to do my undergrad and then NIPER for masters in pharmacy,
Mm-hmm.
and then I joined Dr. Reddy's laboratory, and it was like a 6 months again long wait where somebody can pick me up as my new joinee um, for the company after masters. So it was very a difficult time in the sense when you do the one of the best institute to do masters and then you don't have a job. It's very difficult to convince your family. You went for Chandigarh. It's the best institute. The institute is also paying you the money, but you are not able to get a secure a job in the industry. Yeah. So then I got a job after 6 months, but then it was wonderful time. Like industry is the best environment to grow
Mm-hmm.
as a professional environment. But then I realized after some time, people are not progressing in a way they wanted, or I realized I will not be able to progress in a way I wanted in the industry. So I decided to pursue in like a PhD. But in
Okay.
fact, I wanted to go outside of the, like say India, and I was keep on writing to so many emails because during my masters I published two papers. I was thinking I would be having a red carpet everywhere because publishing masters and two publications, but nobody replied. Even no single email came through after like say 50 or 60 email applying to personally. Nobody even said like say thank you for applying or something like that. Then I realized life is over. I will not be able to get outside. So just only one chance was there, and I took it up as a NCBS as a position. Just I applied there and I cracked the interview and then I decided to pursue the PhD there. Yeah, that's the entire story.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm,
Because getting into NCPS is not easy.
yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
like we all know that it is one of the best institute that we have in India,
Mhm.
and I mean that's incredible.
Yeah, correct. So what happened? I was like, say, probably you know the story, but I think larger audience probably don't know the story. So I was in a company and I was like, say, not getting any reply from for my PhD from outside. So I thought I will not go any further. I got engaged with my wife, and then I said I'm settled now. I don't want to do anything further. I'm happy with my industry life, though I will progress slowly. But that's like the destiny. You cannot change too much in your life. Then
Hmm.
after I got like I getting into this thing, I Uh, Came back, and one of my friend, like say Vipul Solanki, he did also PhD from IMTech. So he told me that we had filled out this NCBS form, and being a good Jew, we should not waste that money because though you are not interested, but at least you should go there and at least try your luck. And I said that's a good idea. So we decided on a Thursday we're gonna appear for the next Sunday NCBS exam. But then always when you have a good intentions, you will realize you meet different peoples with a good heart. So I quickly call one of my friend Rama Reddy, bro. He is my good friend. So he was doing PhD there, and I asked him just basic question, what kind of exam it would be and how I should prepare. And he guided me, and I luckily cracked that exam. No other else, like a like 3 or 4 friends who were appearing for the exam. Then they could crack it. So and then they asked me for an interview, like say writing a project. So I was already writing. I already had a good project when I was doing masters. So I wrote the similar project. This basically same job project, chipped out to NCBS. That's it. So so they somehow accepted me to come for an interview, and that's how then I thought, okay, now this things is getting serious, because initially first I got cleared my exam, and then I realized now getting interview call is again getting serious. So then I started preparing. I every day start like say going through MIT's open courseware, refreshed my coursework and everything, because they ask plus K12 or plus 12, like a 10 plus 2 exam question. They don't ask any kind of NCBS, I would say, not
Yeah.
biological science TFR, because biological science TFR, they ask you so much of genetics. That's what I heard from
Yeah.
Mendelian genetics, which I don't understand till now. So I was going through this kind of preparation, and luckily, yeah, they had a one round of interview which was very bad. They asked me literally one question. I still remember. They say if you want to measure the amount of the blood in an animal, what you will do?
Yeah.
And it was very impromptu question, and I can't imagine I gave that answer. I said, you kill the animal and hang them die. They're upside down, and
Oh
then
my
you
God.
collect all the blood. And then I realized, as a pharmacy, we had a concept called volume of distribution. And and then there is a one professor, I don't want to name him, and he started scribbling on his paper saying that, oh, this guy is crazy. He said like this kind of answers. But then I realized volume of distribution, probably the good concept. And then I said, if you inject a fixed amount of drug or one molecule which is stable enough, it will dilute out. And when you have a N1V1, N2V2, then you will get a volume of distribution. And then everybody was like having the relief in the sense this person is now making sense, because yeah. So then there was another second round. There was a rapid fire round. You ask there are rapid questions and everything. But ultimately, the story is like I managed to crack it, in the sense
Yeah.
I got get inside the
Yeah.
NCBS. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. And this particular question, I remember it's actually been asked in many institutes. Luckily, I did not encounter that question, but I have heard a lot of my friends having
Mhm.
answered those questions, and I think not just like the logic, they also see how creatively you answer these
Yes.
questions. I think
Yes. Yeah.
it also means that you have an ability to think
Yeah.
about a particular experiment in different ways,
Yeah.
which is really good. It's not very factual kind of question.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, yeah, but that's an interesting journey.
Mhm.
So let's talk about what happened after you joined your PhD. Um, how
Mhm.
were the initial years?
So initial years, I was coming from I see two transitions in my like this is the third transition going. I was after a masters, I joined industry. So in an academic environment, you always work like if you 9 to 5 is not as like say
Ideal
like
timing.
this guy is not good only
Yeah.
working in 9 and 5. So you always put extra 2 or 3 hours so that you can get along with the other people and everything. So I was spending too much of time in a lab, and everybody was thinking this guy is a good. But then one of my like say manager, Lomer Singh, is working in a different right now company, and he said if you put extra time just to finish the 9 to 6 job, it doesn't reflect good in an industry environment. So I need to go to the first transition from academic to industry, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that I have to finish my job in 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then after 1.5 years, I was trained now to work in 9 to 5, just make sure that everything is going good. And then I came back to PhD. And
Mm-hmm.
now I think this is a good way. So I was putting only 9 to 5. And again now my friend like the Jogender and other people, they told me like if you put 9 and 5, you will not be able to publish enough article, you will not be able to work and everything, because at the beginning you had a coursework and everything you have to finish. And then there is a second transition for me. In this, and again, now go back to like say industry environment to the academic transition, where 9 to 5 is not a good idea. You work till the time your work is done for the particular day, or you don't have instrument scheduling and everything. Yeah. So this kind of initial journey, it took me like say 5 6 months realizing that I'm doing this. And then there was a exam called comprehensive exam, which I think they introduced just 1 year before me, and at the time they were so strict. If you just pass, if you don't have a, like enough mark, at least 1 mark you left, you have to leave
Mm-hmm.
the program. Now, can you imagine you just come out through all this interview session and everything, and then you realize just because this is a one exam, which by the way it could be a mathematics, physics, chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
all the people they can ask you random questions. And now in a PhD, you cannot be like a master of everything. PhD training means you take your particular journey in a particular direction, and you keep on growing in that direction. And they wanted to ask me like this kind of question. Yeah. So I was just worried too much about that, because if I don't get into this like that, sorry, unless you crack this exam, you cannot register officially for the PhD. You are in a part of NCBS, but you are not able to officially join. So many PIs were okay if you can't crack the compre, if you have a net examination, you
Mm-hmm.
can register outside.
Mm-hmm.
But Jayant being Jayant, he said no. My by the Jayant is my the supervisor for a PhD. Yeah, he said, no, I will not allow anybody who has not cracked the NCBS exam. If NCBS set this criteria, I want everybody to fulfill this criteria for getting a PhD in my lab. And obviously, I failed first exam. After they give you two chance and the first
Mm-hmm.
exam, and then he asked me in coming in the office, and he said, this is the like the +2 or undergrad level exam, and how you are not able to crack it. And then I said I will try my best, but this is the what it like this kind of question they are asking. I am not prepared to do and everything. Luckily, I got like a
Yeah.
second time, so that was the initial big bump. I crossed it, and then I got really into the lab and trying to do all this research work and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, how, like at that time, I also know that a lot of things were happening in your personal life.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
so how did that impact your personal life, your
Yeah.
competition
It's
in qualifiers?
yeah, it's always difficult, right? Because I already decided to like say move along with my family when I do the PhD, and it's very difficult, right? Because you are already putting some constraint in your life, and you cannot like say one. But yeah, so at that time the compre was very difficult, because my family was behind me to get married and everything, because they say if you go too long with this long distance relationship, it may not be good for you and your future wife and everything. But then I say I can't get this compre, then I have to leave the program, and I have to find another job, and I cannot sustain my wife then. So it was a so stressful time and everything. But yeah, finally when I got the like compre done, I just immediately said my family, okay, now we are ready. I just said, Jayant, I am going home. And he didn't ask me. He knows why I'm going home for 1 month and came back. Yeah. And but I know uh, at least one faculty member. He got his PhD. He was doing PhD while he got married, and he said, if you take few steps to maintain your anxiety or maintain your life balance, you will be able to get through it. Don't worry about too much. Because I spoke to him, and that's the beauty of our NCBS. You can knock anybody's door, even like
Mhm.
say any faculty member, and you can get advice as
Right,
well. Yeah,
right.
yeah. Hmm.
So, how was work-life balance for you during those days? Because we all know that it is very difficult during a PhD to have a proper work-life balance. Were you staying on campus? I don't think NCBS has
No, yeah.
campus.
So that's why, like, that's another story. I went to like the NCBS saying that there is some married couple quarter, like married quarters are there, which
Hmm.
was there in my master's student. If you apply to, if
Okay.
you getting married during the PhD or during the masters, you can apply to the married quarter, and they give you a modest, not a big house, but modest house which you can
Hmm.
sustain with your family. And they say, no, no, we don't have it. But interestingly, that guy say we had enough of like space. You can just, you and your wife can stay in one single room. This is a bunk bed kind of thing, which their criteria is if you have a one coach of railway, it's enough
Oh,
space.
okay.
Like say this kind of a little
That's
bit
all.
more bigger than the one coach of railway. Yeah. And I said, I can't do that. I need a like a kitchen and more personal thing. And he said,
Hmm.
we don't provide it. If you go outside, we will provide you HRA. Then yeah, I go to HRA and I was staying outside and managing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
but the stressful thing was manageable because each time when I was doing this kind of transition, I was getting incredibly lucky in the sense that the government was increasing the fellowship. When I joined, it was at 22,000 rupees and HRA like say 8,000 rupees, and then government after 1.5 years they increased to like say 32,000, 28,000, and that's HRA. So I was able to somehow manage economically, but the time wise is always constrained. Yeah, my wife
yeah,
still
yeah.
complains I'm not giving her enough time. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you because you were living in a city like Bangalore, which
Mm,
is in itself expensive,
yes,
and having a family
yeah,
with a salary of a PhD student
yeah,
is not easy
yes,
to sustain in a
yes,
city like that. But yeah, luckily, I think with years, Indian government has increased fellowships, and
yeah,
I'm sure that it's still not enough, but I
mm,
hope that with years it becomes better.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
So,
it's a
sometime
challenge.
yeah, sometime attitude was we cannot do anything. Like this is the way the system works right now. If
Right.
you focus too much of energy in changing the system, then you are changing your PhD to this changing the system. That's I don't didn't want to do that
Yes.
because I I, I was knowing that when I quit 35,000 rupees job, I'm going to 22,000 rupees job. It means that there's gonna be a like the financial hardship.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
acknowledgement you have to create like, in your mind. So that I accepted this thing and then I moved on. And then definitely, before they increased the salary, it was a difficult time. And again, another thing is not only my marriage, but I was the one of the only person who was studying. But people were expecting me to start earning money so that I can like help my family when they are
Hmm.
in a difficult need. So I said, I myself are in need of economical, like say, this stimulus. But yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is tough.
Mm.
You are in a big lab. I know that in NCBS, your PI was not involved in a lot of administration.
Mm.
But
Mm.
then in the later years of your PhD, I
Mm.
think like
Yeah.
towards the fag
Correct.
end, your lab shifted to ISER Pune
Correct.
because
Yes.
your
Yeah.
PI is now
Mm.
the director of
Yeah.
ISER Pune.
Correct.
And that was when you were submitting your thesis, right? How
Correct.
were those days and how was that transition for you?
Yeah. So I think incredibly, like say, the attitude of Jayant is always available. Always
Hmm.
available. In the sense he comes always 9 to 5 in a lab, and he always available. You just knock his door and he said, I want to talk to you regarding this, and he's always ready. I remember a couple of instances. One time I went there and I said I'm feel too much nervous about like say going through all this literature because literature is ever growing. You just want to understand one paper and try to understand fully. Then by the time the five paper which is negating this theory is already been
Yeah.
published. So that's how the science is now published everywhere. So I said I'm getting pretty nervous about this thing, how to get along with literature. And he said only thing is you just keep on reading the paper. He said I am also getting nervous when I don't understand something, but I keep on reading again and again and try to crack this thing why they are saying like this, unless they're completely like say making fool out of themselves. But sometimes the people are really big. You have a constraints constraints in a writing. You cannot write
Hmm.
endless number like a length number of papers, but you have to write in a 6 pages. So the people has to choose certain words so that they can convey their words and everything. And then the part of English is different in America, part of English is different in India. So you have to understand all these nuances so that you can understand the paper better. So I think he was hands-on always whenever you required him to be around. Yeah. But then later stage of time, he decided to move to um, Pune, and I was just about to finish my thesis. Like I was just writing my thesis, and I was not sure whether this guy will come or not come and everything. But he knows my wife and I working here in NCBS, so might not want to come there in a Pune. But then I realized he was so busy, he was just not able to answer or cope up with these emails and administrative work because he obviously transition for him also was completely new because he was in NCBS for almost 30 years or something like that. So he never did any transition from that. So he also was coping through new transition. Then I decided to go to Pune. So I was just after like I go to 2 or 3 weeks there. By the way, it's very costly to just move from Bangalore to Pune. Uh, Bus travel is 1600 rupees per like say time, and you're
Yeah.
coming back after 2 weeks and everything. Yeah, and then
Also,
NCBS decided after five and a half year you will not get salary because there are many poor people they just keep on getting extension and
mm-hmm.
I, and the last like say 5 or 6 months when I was coming to the Pune, I was just managing from my hand because nobody was providing me salary. So that's another difficult situation you have to face because if you drag on your PhD thinking that my senior and super senior keep on getting extension and then suddenly this new bump in your life you will come saying that you have to cross this bump in the sun, they will not give you any money. It's difficult, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think that has been challenging for a lot of PhD students in the
correct.
past 2-3 years
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
these rules have become stricter
Correct,
and the time for like the time which is given to you to
correct, correct,
finish your PhD and even have an extension is lesser.
correct,
So in case your boss is not providing you an external grant or fellowship or
correct,
money from somewhere,
correct,
it's
correct.
not going to be possible for a PhD student to sustain, especially
Yes,
outside their
correct,
campus in cities like in bigger cities like Mumbai, Pune,
correct.
Bangalore, and even otherwise. I mean,
Yeah,
not getting paid is a big problem.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think some way in an Indian system we need to make sure that like the people who are doing the PhD, the one first author paper is fine, but people want always like a 3 or 4 first author paper, and then it takes a long time to get in or finish your PhD. Like I find been in my postdoc lab, I see many people just get 1 or 2 first author paper, then they see many collaborative papers that
Hmm.
makes them ready for the collaborative work they're gonna do in the future or in industry, sorry, academia as well. That's I think lacking somewhere in our system. That's at least I felt when during my PhD. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think the expectations of some labs is very high, and to meet those expectations,
Yeah.
I think it takes a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
that is something which causes overuse
Correct.
of a PhD student, and that should not be done. I think those
Yeah.
policies should be more stronger
Correct.
back in India, and like they are in some other countries, and I think that will solve a lot of issues.
Correct.
Okay. So moving on from your PhD to your postdoc, how was
Sorry. Mhm.
how was that transition?
So that also another thing is like when I was about to start thesis. So in India, it again takes incredibly long to get your thesis
Hmm.
verified, right? And then your thesis defense. So I applied the first person, and in a night, and he was aware of our work, and the next morning, Professor Gross replied to me, my postdoc mentor, saying that, oh, I know your work and everything, and we would like you to come to postdoc in our lab when you can join. And that was
Oh wow.
complete out of question. I thought I'm just started writing thesis and how I can give him any time and everything. But he said why it's taking long time, and it was difficult to explain him. Then in India, you send to the three external like say examiner your thesis, and then they will take their own time to like say review. This is a 300 400 pages document to verify and then come back and everything. So I said why and I seen in the Washington University where I was doing PhD postdoc within a 1 month you submit it, you
Yes.
just give a deadline to the RIT supervisor. If you don't give a in any comment, we will assume you don't have a comment, and then you have to like say internal everything. Yeah. So I said I can come somewhere in around December, and he was kind enough to say, okay, fine, we will wait for you and everything. Yeah. So and then I applied to a couple of positions, but that was not like say I'm really interested in. But I decided looking in a giant's lab where I was looking at 50% biophysics spectroscopy and
Mm-hmm.
50% mass spec.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided I wanted to completely go to the mass spec,
Hmm.
mass spec side because I had an insight when I was doing in a industry job. The mass spec gonna
Mm-hmm.
be a key instrument technique
Right.
which can help you out in many characterization portfolio and everything for industry. So I decided to move to the fully mass spec lab, and that was Professor Gross's lab. He just do all the mass spec and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's how it, and then ultimately it took me some time, and then I able to join in December 15. Yeah, that's how the story is.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. How was your postdoc journey? You were in the lab for 5 years, right?
yeah. 4 years. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
4 years. Yeah, yeah. Initially, it was like I think the lab is very open because lab has seen so many immigrant people. Like it's full of like the people from like the China, the India, and then other part of the world. And so they were very receptive about the people from like coming outside and doing postdoc and helping them out. Lab has incredible support staff like Henry and Don and Daryl. They help you out in many other ways when you need them, apart from like scientific instruments and everything. And then they have like a very good postdoc culture. So when I joined the lab, they have a 3 or 4 postdocs already there. They are ready to help me out in how to transition into this new career. And you have another layer of like say graduate students who keep on working and asking the questions. Yeah. And when I attended the first lab meeting, I see a very open culture. You can ask any question. So I was at the beginning I was towards more spectroscopic questions because I always see a balance between spectroscope and mass spec, and they don't do mass spectroscopic technique, but they somehow try to give us some answer in the sense they are making sense about their data by different techniques and everything. Yeah. And then he, like the Professor Gross, was very helpful in terms of looking out about, like say, he was making sure that not only me but my families also get settled. So when I asked him, he gave me only 1 year at DS 2019. That's
Okay.
okay. And I said I wanted more than 1 year at least for the beginning. And he said, believe me, I just only have 1 year right now funding, but I don't keep my postdoc like cut loose after 1 year. I make sure that they stay in my lab, but I cannot right now give you more than 1 year because I have a funding right now, renewal coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined based on his word, and he kept his word. When I came, I asked him in around June, saying that if I extend for maximally 4 years, then many of this my visa issue would be sorted out. It would be easy for my wife to get a longer EAD and everything. And he said, go ahead, yeah. And then I think the department did first time after a long time, they extend anybody's DS 2019 for 4 years. Because previously
Mm-hmm.
they just renew only 1 year, 1 year, 1 year.
Okay.
But I said, my boss is okay. What's your issue and everything? And then they say, we don't have an issue. Your boss is okay. And then he supported me for getting 4 year transition in a stretch. And that was a big relief at the beginning because when you apply for your wife's EAD, they ask for how long your DS is, and based on that, they will give you EAD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this was the first instance of support. Second is I was looking for a job for my wife, and he said, if you find any job in a WashU, and if you want me to recommend your wife to any job, I will do it. And that's again incredible support, right? Because you come to the new place, nobody knows you very well, and only boss you are interacting. And he said, I can write to the person saying that these guys are genuine, they're coming from the different country. They will help if you need any kind of verification. I can vouch for them in behalf of them and everything. Yeah. So it was that beginning was making so smooth. That was like Professor Gross's signature handling of postdoc. Yeah.
That's very sweet, actually.
Yeah.
So how was your personal life? Was there any difference between when you were in Bangalore and Pune, like in India, versus when you shifted to the US?
there is another story about like say my friend, very good friend Ankan. So when I joined, like when I came to know that okay, I'm gonna go to US in the Washington University as a like the good student. I just checked who is my friend in a Washington University. Only
Yeah.
one person came up was Ankan,
Mm-hmm.
and this another like this is a story about the people like say in the US. So I reached out to him, and he gave. We had just overlapped 2 or 3 months probably, hardly, and during my masters. After then I did company, and then I got PhD. All this during there, but he gave me very warm welcome. He said, "You come to my home, stay with me because we have shared one common lab. It's my responsibility to make sure that you settle down very nicely in a St. Louis." And for the 2 weeks, he kept in his room, sorry, on home, and he settled everything for for us, like housing and everything. So I don't feel any any kind of like a bump on the way while I was transitioned from like this Bangalore to St. Louis. So
Mm-hmm.
so that's another like say learning for lesson for if I reach out to the people, they will ready to help. But if I think okay, no, everybody knows like I'm gonna come to St. Louis, nobody gonna reach out to me saying that if you need my help, let me know. But
Yeah.
as a like say person who needs help, I have to reach out the person. If you tell them with the goods like say your situation, there many people would be happy to help you. But this like the incredible help Uncle gave us. He introduced to his um friends and everything, and they become friends for life for us also. We and that's make your cultural transition very easy. Like you can
Yes.
find out Indian food, you can celebrate your festival in unknown country, and it's easy going for you so that you can have a more or less same life, but you do just in an academic environment in US. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And then you also like eventually in your whole journey also created like a big community around here,
Yeah.
not just amongst Indians, but
Mhm.
also you were the representative of your campus
Yeah.
in the
Correct. Yeah.
postdoc society here,
So
which also gained a lot of experience for you.
yeah. So what happened? I decided to join Washington University because I thought the networking is somewhat I'm lacking here in a US because some of the friends I know they have so many friends around the campus, but I was not having it. But I joined the Washington like the University Postdoc Society WOOPS during the time of the peak of the COVID, and I did nothing for almost a 1 year. And then I realized if I keep on giving them excuse, they will feel, oh my God, this guy is incredible. He's not doing anything but giving just excuse. So one day I decided when the campus opened after COVID, I will hold a coffee hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I just within like the next week I say I'm gonna have a coffee hour next Thursday in this morning and everything. And everybody said you don't have a time, you haven't advertised. I said if I don't do right now, I may not be going to do anywhere in any time in the future because that's like the time right time arrived. And I was the only one just waiting for 1 hour to somebody to come for a sipping coffee. I just got the coffee from outside. But then people are realizing that this person is crazy enough to come every 1 month in a Thursday. Let's support him to come for the coffee. And then you realize there are many people facing the same issues which you faced or very early on. Now you are expert on, so you don't tell like simple thing how to come from airport to your campus,
Right.
what are the good localities to look for, how you can get Indian groceries from the different, like say from in a St. Louis and everything. So and then I started asking questions, and I thought it's a good way. I'm not helping the people in academic whenever they need, but this is a small thing which I didn't need it at that time because of the Ankan, but now many people are there. I should be able to help you out, and that's how I was able to merge with a bigger community at WashU. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice of you to do that.
Mhm.
Also to think about like because you had so much experience,
Yes.
that is something that you can use to help
Mm.
others. That is
Yeah.
really, really nice and
Yeah.
commendable.
Mm.
Now let's talk about your current transition. You just joined in your current role.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how has that been like from a postdoc to an industry again?
Yeah. So I always wanted to go back to industry,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, when I finished PhD, there was one place I can again go back to industry, Dr. Reddy's laboratory or somewhere else. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, if I go to outside academic environment, I would like to see how the science works in a bigger, like say, scientific ecosystem. Indian ecosystem is very little bit smaller than, or much smaller than the like the American
Global.
ecosystem or like Western or European ecosystem. So I thought, let's get an experience there. I can go back to India every time, anytime. So
Yeah.
once I join the industry in India, I will not be able to go back to academic environment in America. So that's the one suggestion I decided to go for it. And then when I was here, I was thinking it's a good atmosphere. You can work in a do the good science. Whether you keep on doing your postdoc, and eventually it take longer time little bit, but you can keep on doing the science as a staff scientist, postdoc as staff scientist,
Yeah.
and ultimately instructor, and then you do a professorship somewhere, yeah. Or you can go to the industry, but that the challenge was no, the industry uh, okay to sponsor, but they want to know you first. So most of the time, what happens, the the PhD student after graduating, they get a 3-year OPT. So the PhD people who are just freshly graduated, they are good harvest for them because they get 3-year OPT, which where they can work anywhere. Company don't have to sponsor any visa and everything. And by this 3 year, company test you, make sure that this guy is performing good and everything, and then you sponsor their visa and everything. For my
Right.
case, they cannot test me unless they can just talk to my boss in US and saying that, okay, we want to hire this guy, and how do you feel about it? So like that. So I applied many different positions, but luckily, as I told you, like the mass spec is a key functionality in industry now, in biopharma industry. But again, there was getting the visa sponsorship was the big hurdle. But then this after like say 5 or 6 trials and everything, the Amgen came along. They know my boss very well. They approached my boss, and I already told my boss, Professor Gross, I wanted to move to transition industry, and he said, I will help you out whenever there is any position. So he said, this is like I said to him, this is the position I would like to apply, and he said, go ahead, if you apply. If you need anything, let me know. So then they quickly arrange the interview and everything. After the interview, they say, can you reach out to your boss? And I said, he is the one who had forwarded me this position, so he is okay. Don't worry about it, because I know many people that if their boss came to know that okay, they had applied to outside position, they don't take it very good.
Right.
They don't like it. And actually, I was working in a many interdisciplinary work where I was part of the bigger team, so I was not able to have my own postdoc project.
Okay.
So one of the comment they were having is why I don't have a first author publication during my postdoc. But then they asked me, like not me, but the Professor Gross, and he explained the situation. See, this is another support. If your boss goes to extra mile, they will make you comfortable, your journey very comfortable. He was traveling to Europe. I said to him, they might approach you. And by the time I wrote to him, say they might approach you, he said I already talked to them, and they're progressing. See, I haven't told him in the sense they're gonna approach you, but after 6 to 7 hours of my interview, I said they're gonna approach you, and he said, yeah, they emailed me, and I replied back. Rather than, I know many a time your boss just take months and months to reply your single email, but he said I already replied, and they were asking me this question, and I said he works in an environment or a project where he cannot have a first author publication, though he's working on a couple of papers, but we cannot comment when it will be out in the public. But this is his journey and everything. So then everything was okay. The company was ready to file my O1 and everything. Yeah.
That's
And then another.
really nice.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, if your boss supports,
Yeah,
you can.
I mean, amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing support from a postdoc mentor, or
yeah,
like that's a mentor for life, I would
yeah,
say.
correct. Yeah. So then the story comes about my own visa, and you have to identify like the potential reviewer and everything. And again, I
So
approached my
open
boss.
visa for our audience, it's like a talent visa, which
Okay,
very few
correct.
people get.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think all of the people who are attending our session know about open visa. So
Okay, yeah,
it's basically a talent visa, which
correct.
is not very common in the
Correct.
US. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you think?
Correct. Yeah. So O1 is basically extraordinary ability visa where you have to fulfill out of 10 criteria. So if you have published the paper, then you can fulfill one criteria. You had reviewed somebody else's work, so you review like the way you are sending your paper for review for academic journals. Somebody is reviewing, so that's also a good idea if you can review somebody's paper. And then you had published, attended so many conferences. That's also good. You can tell them you are active in a science and you are contributing actively to the science. And by this criteria, they judge you and approve your O1 or not. Yeah. So I had to find out 4 or 5 recommend like the referee which can refer to me and more the independent people which you didn't work with. They are better like the number of recommendations. I again approached Professor Gross saying that how to go for it. And he gave me one tip, which is again important in the sense he said, tell them this is not for your scientific purpose. This is just for getting the visa. So that make people comfortable. If you say I gonna write very like say big words about myself and say that this is my recommendation, you sign it, they will, all people would be skeptical because they don't know you enough and everything. But you tell them this is just for what I would say, a visa purpose where you have to boast your profile in a way that the reviewer of your O1 petition thinks that you are a good scientist. But they are nowhere like they are. You cannot use those recommendations to get any scientific benefits out of this because
Yeah.
this is not written for the scientific purpose, and that's make everybody okay with that. Say you write whatever you want because that's gonna be remaining inside and everything. But again, you cannot write everything wrong, but you have to justify in a sense that you can truly bring out what was needed at the time during your publication and you what you contribute finally into the paper with little bit big words, and they would be okay with that. So that make the right getting the reference letter from the different people very easy. Yeah. And then again, it's a wait for them to prepare other documents. Then I asked them again. I asked them to give me an opportunity whenever he has to review the papers. So in a scientific field, what the if boss receives any paper, they generally ask you to do review, but he will not give any credit for reviewing. But moment I told Professor Gross, I need now my credits to be built up, and then he replying back every editor saying that one of my postdoc, he needs for this benefits and he needs the credit for this review. He gonna be doing it, and he started forwarding. Like the editor started forwarding me review requests and everything. See, these are the small steps. You don't know the ramp is so like so shallow, but at the
Yeah.
same time, if you do after 5 years, you will realize you come a long way. You
Yeah.
don't realize the ramp is so shallow, but after 5 years of journey, you will realize you achieved the next height of your career.
Ultimately leading to the big picture, right?
Yes,
That's what
correct.
we call
Yeah, that's true.
your interview. So
Correct.
the big picture, basically, from your initial
Yeah.
industry days to your PhD to your postdoc and your current position, how do you see the whole journey? Do you have any advice for our audience today?
I don't think I qualify for advice, but I can share my experience in the sense, uh, always follow your art. Like I didn't tell you the story about my the background thing. I never had the, the choice I wanted in the sense I wanted to do. Everybody wants to do a doctor after doing plus 12. Okay, so I wanted to be a doctor. I couldn't do that. So I said, next, what is the next best option for me? Then I always have a chance in the sense I don't want to do engineering. So then only left is pharmacy. When I finished my pharmacy, I went to like say the NIPER and everybody wants to do pharmaceutic, which is a topmost pharmacology, second best. I said I don't want to do means I wanted to do out of this. I couldn't get into this. They said, what is the next best thing I could do? I said I don't want to do any kind of chemistry related stuff. So see, I always making a choice which I don't want to do and what I can not achieve. Only few options I had. So I said, okay, I want to do biotechnology. And there at the time also I got an amazing mentor, Professor Ipshita Roy. She is incredibly helpful till now. I whenever wrote to her, she immediately replies back to my email and everything. Yeah. So she helped me a lot during my masters, and then after when I joined the industry, that's the only place I got into. I couldn't get into any other places I wanted and everything. And then when I go to the NCBS, I couldn't get anywhere else, like the Australia or Europe or everywhere. So I always thought, okay, this is the only thing I can get. If I want to do PhD, I have to do in India, and that's the only thing. Best thing is NCBS. So I luckily got into. So sometimes I feel my life is traveling between what I wanted and what I don't want to do. Only thing is the remaining path I have to pursue. Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so if you have to follow always your, like say, all this journey with a good heart, if you feel you are making progress, then nobody else can stop you. You have to feel you are making progress. If you think no, somebody else, like one of my friend had published tremendously when just finishing your masters and everything, you cannot compare right away from them because your journey would be different from their journey. So you have to
Right.
always look for how you are making your transition better as compared to some, like say, your previous transition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you
I
cannot, yeah.
think
So
betterment of yourself than competing with
yeah,
someone else
yeah,
is
correct,
something
yeah,
that you should aim for,
correct.
especially in academia. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that is something that keeps you happy and also should also be keeping you satisfied with your own
correct.
journey.
Yes, completely
All
agree
right.
because you cannot
Thank you
see
so much
how
for.
I'm making. Yep.
No, go ahead.
I think you don't know how the other people are making their own transition, how much stress they are getting, how much they are getting lucky, how much effort they are putting it. You just seeing their output.
Yeah.
So sometimes they are making tremendous progress. You don't know how much effort they are putting it. You are just comparing. I am not able to get it, but if
Yes.
you put that much amount of effort, probably you will also get it.
Yes.
Yeah,
We don't really see the struggles, we only see the
correct. Yeah,
success. So,
correct. Yeah.
yeah, we don't know the stories behind
Ah,
how they have reached
yeah.
where they have reached. That's correct. Okay, so this has been like a really beautiful journey of yours. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Now we are going to do something fun,
Mm-hmm.
which is our rapid liar uh, uh, round, which we've
Mm-hmm.
just started this season.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to lie. I will ask you questions and it has to be rapid. Like you have to
Okay.
rapidly lie to the
Okay.
question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you love your comprehensive exams experience?
10. Yeah.
You loved it.
Yeah.
Okay. Living in India or living in a foreign country? Which would you choose?
I would say it's 5
No,
because
no, you don't have to rate it. You just have to choose either or, like, which would you choose? Living in India or living in a foreign country?
I will always go for like living in India.
Okay. Loud and clear.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. If you had to do it all over again, this whole journey all over again, what would your reaction be?
Yeah, means I could do it because life is journey. You don't have to. Okay, I have to lie, right? I
Yes.
don't want to do like say all this tremendous journey I have gone through. No, I don't want to do that.
Wow, you're the first person actually I've met who says that he's fine with doing it all over again. What was your motivation to do a PhD? You have to lie.
Okay, I was gonna say money, but this is a truth in some truth in about this thing. But okay, I think myself a greatest scientist.
Yeah, I have no arguments against that. Now and before, what is it in the lab that you can live without?
Can live without
Yeah.
notebooks,
Rapid. Notebook.
notebooks. Yeah, writing the notebooks. Yeah, so some of the keep on writing everything same and same. Yeah.
Okay. You are also a cricket fan, right?
Yep.
You used to play cricket over here in
Uh,
St. Louis. What is common between cricket and academia?
Um, Academy also you have lots of googly before you can hit six and
Ooh.
fours. Yeah, yeah,
But that's the truth, right?
yeah. That's the truth. Yeah. Okay, I have to lie. I don't know why. I have to lie
No, but
in a
I'm
sense.
I'm taking your answer. It's okay.
Okay, yeah.
You don't have to lie. Okay, now you don't have to lie at all
Hmm.
for this question. React on the following. What are your thoughts on chai? You also like chai, I know that.
Yeah, yeah. It's incredible. Like the chai is a good place to talk to like vent your anger. You cannot tell your boss in front of like say you, right? So you have to tell outside. And so I had very good my friend Rohit. We used to go for like the tea every time. And my wife whenever she calls, she said, with whom you are? I said, with Rohit. He said, "So Rohit is my Sotan now, like in Indian way, because you are keep on spending so much of time with Rohit. I am now start worried about you. Yeah. Because he was my chai buddy, yeah, and during my PhD. Yeah.
Uh, Washington University's Danforth campus, which is where you did your postdoc.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
It's a beautiful campus, yeah, beautiful campus. You see lots of like the greenery, lots of building which are like the signature to Washington University, not like a med campus which is cramped in a one small space. And yeah, it's incredibly beautiful campus.
Yeah. Um, I agree.
Mm,
It's very historic
yeah.
also. Okay, your last question. If you had a movie based on your journey so far, what would its title be? This is not, you don't have to lie.
Okay. So I would like it to be a Gujarati because I am a Gujarati. I always think Vicharona Omadama. Vichar means thoughts, and it's like what I would say turbulent thoughts because as a scientist, as a people from the middle class journey, we always have like turbulent thoughts coming in our mind, and it never settles. You go
Okay.
anywhere, but it keep on like say right now also you will feel okay. What happened? What I want to do next after having my like I started industry career, when I will be having my own home, whether when I will get my good car, when if I have everything, then I will say my children are going good or something like that. So it's always thought process never stops for us, and I think that's how I keep on thinking about myself because I never sit idle about. I keep on thinking about what is the next. Yeah, that's how. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that you have given this movie name a detailed thought.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. By the
Okay.
way, I read lots of books, so I get lots of inspiration from the people. So I think that's how you keep on fantasizing yourself, right? What my book would look like if I somebody make it book or something. Then you ask the same question. I was thinking if you ask me the same question about like book, I would have given the same answer. But
Same
yeah,
answer.
nowadays nobody reads books. Everybody is behind the like movies. Yeah.
Yeah, we will make note of it. If there is an autobiography coming out of Prashant's life, then it is going to be called Vicharona. What?
Vamadama, Vamadama,
Okay.
Vamadama. Yes, just like
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Prashant, for
Oh,
joining us today. I had a wonderful time, and I hope you also enjoyed.
oh,
Uh,
thank you. Thank you
yeah.
for inviting me. It's nice discussing. I think if somebody just inspire a little bit, I would be happy.
Oh,
Just
yes.
yeah, oh, yeah, that's
I,
yeah.
I'm sure it has
Mm,
been like inspiring for
mm,
people.
mm,
I have heard you talk and it has always been very inspiring for
mm,
me personally.
yeah. Thank you.
So yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Mhm.
Uh, if you can exit the call.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I had a lot of fun. And let us know if you had any comments or any inputs about it. You can message us or you can always comment on our posts. And we will be back with another episode, very interesting topic in a few days. Till then, stay tuned. Goodbye.